Legends say there's a world beneath this one, where a dragon lies sleeping. They say be careful how you wake the dragon. This ancient land is home to the indigenous Australians, the oldest continuous culture on Earth. And they say that at the time of creation, a spirit being, a great reptile, formed this land and everything else on Earth. And then it went underground, where it still sleeps and mustn't be disturbed. Now we know that beneath this soil lies some of the richest deposits of uranium anywhere on Earth. And uranium is like a sleeping dragon. It's a beast of mythical power. Now, the traditional owners of this land say that if you disturb this place, you will wake that sleeping spirit and unleash disaster. In 1945, the power of uranium is unleashed on the city of Hiroshima in a single bomb. How does a rock dug from the earth contain such power? I was born here in Australia. I studied physics here, and the story of the great power beneath the earth intrigues me. I want to follow the story of uranium. At a time of creation, before there's an Earth, a star explodes, a supernova. In the incredible violence and heat, uranium is forged. Uranium crackles with the energy of an exploding star. From the debris of the explosion 4.5 billion years ago, our Earth forms. And the uranium is embedded into a hot and molten Earth. The Earth cools with the uranium inside, still crackling with the energy of that exploding star.
A speck of uranium the size of the dot over an I would contain more than 2 million trillion atoms. The heart of the atom is the nucleus, 20,000 times smaller than the atom itself.
This tiny nucleus at the center of the atom is made of protons and neutrons, and they're tightly bound together. Unlike billiard balls, protons and neutrons can't be knocked around. They remain fixed, unchanging, inside the nucleus. And it's actually the number of protons inside each nucleus that defines the element. An atom with one proton as its nucleus is the element hydrogen. In the atomic world, it doesn't get any simpler. Every atom in the universe with one proton is hydrogen. An atom with two protons is the element helium. Now you'll notice this one also has two neutrons, represented by white balls. Now some helium atoms have one neutron, some have three, but all helium atoms have precisely two protons. An atom with 6 protons is the element carbon. It could be the carbon in a tree or the carbon in diamond. All have exactly 6 protons. Each different element has a unique number of protons. 7 is nitrogen. 8, oxygen. 79 is gold. But have a look at this. The uranium nucleus has a whopping 92 protons and usually 146 neutrons. It is the biggest nucleus on Earth. So big that it is groaning under the strain. And Ernest Rutherford and Frederick Soddy find that it is doing something extraordinary. It actually spits out chunks of itself. And these chunks are radiation. Now, they contain protons, so when uranium releases radiation, it's losing protons. So it no longer has 92, and that means it's no longer uranium. It's a completely different element. Ernest Rutherford and Frederick Soddy are witnessing the uranium nucleus transforming itself. And this challenges our fundamental understanding of the physical world. A nucleus doesn't just change. So this suggests the dark and magical arts of the alchemists. Alchemists were wizards and magicians. They dabbled in potions and spells. Their dream was to transform one element into another. They called it transmutation. The alchemists never succeeded. It's impossible. One element can't just change into another. That's magic. But as Ernest Rutherford and Frederick Soddy begin to look at uranium, that's exactly what they find. They've glimpsed the dragon. Uranium, when it exhales radiation and energy, transforms into thorium. It actually turns into a completely different element. Uranium is a shapeshifter, and it does this naturally. A lump of uranium will do this all by itself. Frederick Soddy is so excited, he shouts, "Rutherford, this is transmutation." And Rutherford snaps back, "For Christ's sake, don't call it transmutation. They'll have our heads off as alchemists." Thorium is radioactive too. It exhales radiation and transmutes into protactinium, a completely different element again. Rutherford calls these newly formed elements daughters, the daughters of uranium. And each daughter, in releasing radiation, changes into a brand new daughter. Radium appears, Marie Curie's radium. It is uranium's great-great-great-granddaughter. That's why it's found in uranium ore. Now, radium transmutes into her daughter, radon, which happens to be a gas. Radon transmutes into her daughter, polonium, which isn't a gas. And polonium transmutes into her daughter and her daughter. Uranium gives rise to 14 generations of change, a line of 14 daughters, and the last is lead. It's a barren daughter. Lead isn't radioactive at all. It doesn't transmute into anything. Lead isn't going anywhere. Ernest Rutherford and Frederick Soddy have solved one of the great mysteries of radioactivity. It's uranium transforming itself into lead. Uranium is doing something no one ever thought possible. It's changing its atomic structure. And with each change, it releases energy. Uranium now gives physicists a novel idea. If someone could find a way to force uranium to change, release all that energy, that person would possess a fantastical power. When the bomb goes off, it is so incredibly bright, it's like another rising sun. The heat from the bomb fuses the desert sand into this green glass. It's a mineral, which is named in honor of the test, trinitite. the first and only time it's ever been created. You can still detect radiation coming away from the trinitite, which is about 30 times the background. So it's not dangerous being here today, but it would have been a different story some 70 years ago.
10 days later, the uranium bomb arrives on a tiny island in the Pacific. Where it is loaded into a B-29 named after the pilot's mother.
The Enola Gay's mission starts from Tinian in the Marianas. The crew has had their final briefing on weather and air-sea rescue. The massive bomb has been loaded. At 2:45 in the morning, August 6, 1945, Colonel Tibbets takes the Enola Gay down the runway into the air, beginning the 6.5 hour flight to Japan.
The morning of August 6th, 1945 is beautiful and clear in Hiroshima. The people here see a single silver aircraft gleaming in the sky.
Calling Enola Gay, weather's fair and clear over Hiroshima, condition favorable for bombing.
A 6-year-old boy, Keiji Nakazawa, is playing outside. He will survive and go on to become one of Japan's greatest animators. This is his story from that morning.
B29 じゃ。本当じゃ。どうしたんだろう。
Altitude 3,600 feet.
Release bomb.
Roger. Releasing bomb.
People closest to the blast are instantly vaporized in the tremendous heat. They leave their shadows etched on the pavement.
This is what the city of Hiroshima looks like on August 6, 1945. It's a town laid to waste by uranium. After the nuclear weapon detonates above the city, it already creates a fireball 300 meters in diameter. You can see represented by that red sphere. And those not killed in the initial blast and fire will begin to die in the coming weeks from the radiation.
After the bomb, American authorities insist that the people who survived the blast in Hiroshima are not suffering ill effects due to exposure to radiation. An Australian, Wilfred Burchett, the first Western journalist into the city, finds something the world has never seen before. People suffering from a horrible illness, which we know today as acute radiation sickness.
I write this as a warning to the world. In Hiroshima, people are still dying mysteriously and horribly from an unknown something which I can only describe as the atomic plague. All these phenomena, they told me, were due to the radioactivity released by the atomic bomb's explosion of the uranium atom.
This sickness is something the world has never seen before. There were clues to this new sickness back in the ancient land where ancient stories tell of a great power beneath the earth. And it was here I found something extraordinary. This painting is really fascinating. It's an ancient health warning. It shows the sickness you would contract if you disturb the stones in this area. You see the swelling on the joints. And strangely enough, this land has some of the richest deposits of uranium on Earth. Today, we know the sickness at Hiroshima was due to the strange energy coming from uranium. When the bomb went off, zillions of uranium nuclei ripped themselves in half, something that never happens in nature. And that released an incredible amount of energy, a lot of which you could see, the heat and light and the shock wave, but it also released energy that you can't see. It's a form of radiation just like light, but so high energy that it's invisible to our eyes. This invisible radiation flashed through people at the speed of light. Even those not directly affected by the immediate blast have their cells seriously damaged at the molecular level. This new sickness is acute radiation syndrome. The uranium bomb would continue to kill till the death toll was more than 100,000 people. Before Hiroshima, almost no one had heard of uranium. And now, all of a sudden, it explodes into the consciousness of everyone on Earth. Soon miners will come for the uranium beneath this country. And the indigenous people fear they will disturb the sleeping reptile and unleash earthquakes and fire. It's the fire of a new age, the age of uranium.